Atlanta. What it do. I am your co-host Wendy Torres here for the Mentor Mentee podcast, and I am so excited to be with you all on this Tuesday, April the 6th, 2021. This is a great day, and we are about to have an amazing time. Hey, Emil, how are you?
Hi, Wendy. Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday, fam. Per usual, as the show gets started, there's a mini heart attack that happens between pressing the live button and bringing everyone onto the stage. And so today's panic attack was that my brother called me and couldn't find the truck key. That was at the restaurant. And I panicked because I thought they said I still had it, which I knew I didn't, but if I did, I don't know how the show will be going right now. So I'm happy that I was able to tell them where it was. All that to say, how you doing, Wendy?
I mean, I can't complain. Listen, I normally say with my life, if anything went wrong, I did it. So it's my fault. So I just am excited to be here tonight. I'm excited about our co-host. I'm excited about the topic. It's spring break. So listen.
Yes.
It's supposed to be spring break. Spring break means that you're on a break. Let me tell you what you don't do for your spring break. You don't tell your trainer you're on a break. Because he doesn't hear, oh, you're breaking. It's spring break. You're taking time down. That means you're supposed to have time off. No. What he hears is, oh, I can keep you in the gym as long as I want to because you don't have anywhere else to go because you're on spring break. Your job is not waiting for you.
Yeah, that's what you get for talking to him too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
Oh,
I did. I completely overshared.
Completely.
So I didn't do it. Someone else did. I guess a lot of districts are on spring break. So I spent the day at the gym from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Yeah, that was my life this morning. That was it. That's what happened to me.
Oh my God.
Today. Yeah, that's how. So that's my check-in. That's how I'm doing. But that's why y'all getting these shoulders. Y'all need to get used to these traps and these shoulders. Y'all gonna get them all summer long. But anyway, how are you?
He's going to get the body out of you that he desires one way or another. That's all I'm going to say. He is not going to give up. He's going to get it. I'm good. I'm not going to lie. I am exhausted. I took a quick trip to Florida to hit the beach. It was a nice day of self-love. I also mixed some business in and bought some stuff for the restaurant. So we restocked ourselves. But I'm tired because I drove down and drove back up. And then went straight into work as usual. So, but I'm excited because I know I'm about to have a very, very, very epic conversation with someone very special that I do not get to spend a lot of time with. We have done what you usually do, which is like you graduate from high school and then go do your own thing.
Yes.
You build a life for yourself and you become an adult, but all along the way, you just keep sight on each other. Yeah. And you always know by one person or two person or three person how that person is doing. The beauty of technology says that you get to see them so often and you make sure they're okay. And when beautiful moments happen, you get to see the pictures like everyone else. So it's great. But I don't get to have this conversation. And so I get to have it with Wendy and with someone who is special to us. Both of us. We've talked about her plenty of times on this.
We really have talked about her an entire lot on the show.
And I never thought I did at some point. But I never thought we were going to get to have the conversations that we're going to get to have.
With her. Because she's
with her. Yeah. Right. Which means like y'all in for a treat because when we're in this show, right? We bring in guests who like call me Nate. And we always ask the question like, is it Nate or is it Emil? And everyone doesn't know who Nate is and everyone doesn't know who Emil is. But those who know Nate know about the transition between Nate and Emil. And it's an epic transition that happened because it actually launched my career.
Right.
But the person we're bringing in is responsible for allowing me that shift to happen. And that's why it's a very special conversation for me. And so this is a poet. This
Yes.
is an author, a scholar,
scholar,
an
educator, friend,
a fiance.
Yes, a fiance.
Who is doing everything that she can to make sure that her world is better for tomorrow and the day after. Nate, you gotta join.
Right, sir. Like,
I'm bringing you in. I'm bringing you in.
She is not only is she an activist. There are not many people in this world that can tell me anything. Now, I don't know everything, but I know a lot of stuff. And there aren't many people that when they talk, I listen. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if I present to you Aurielle Marie, the one probably of 3 people in the entire world outside of my daddy, that when she talks, I shut up and I listen. Please. Hello. Hey.
You deserved every bit of that intro. I'm not getting you right now.
Yeah, so just make sure we can hear you in your computer.
There we go. I muted myself so there wasn't no background. There we go.
There she is.
My bad. Yeah, thank y'all so much. That was such a sweet intro, Nate. That was such a sweet intro, Wendy. Thank you.
Listen, lady, we love you.
All right.
I love y'all.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing good. There's a pandemic outside. I don't know if anybody
a whole panoramic.
A whole Ponderosa. It's still happening. We are a year in. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I love you and I want to like keep talking about how we're tired of being inside, but we've had these conversations on the phone once a week for 52 weeks. I need us to talk about something else. We gotta do something else. And we're just laughing because it's like, we're still here. But yeah, doing well considering, writing a lot, trying to do this work, trying to stay connected to Black folks across the internet and keep loving on us and talking our trash and doing what we can.
But you are the one, you give us the right to talk the trash, ma'am. I'm like, you just make being Black so sexy. Come on, like, can we just talk about how you being like, you just talk about in our Blackness. I just be like, yes.
I think Blackness is so yes, it's so expansive. It's so luxe. I was watching, I was listening to a good friend of mine. Her name is Simi Moonlight on Instagram. And she was talking about how Blackness is a luxury experience. And I was like, that's correct. That's correct. I like that. Being Black is sexy. It is just it's bomb. So I think that, and it's so expansive, right? It's not just like, Black joy and like this like sort of like empty thing. It's very deep and rooted and genius and all of the above. It's a pleasure. It's a blessing to be Black.
Come on now, blessing. And thank you, Captain, for the shout out for my shoulders. I appreciate it. Y'all gonna get them all summer. Don't let it get hot. Don't let it get hot.
It will.
Yes, I can't wait.
Y'all, this is how the episode's gonna go today. So let's
and that's fine. Been this way since 2009. That's all right.
Listen, like, okay, so you guys don't know because we always talk about where we come from. So, like, you all do not understand the Aurielle and Emil. Let me give them their grown-up names. Elle and Emil.
Dang.
And I grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
Second period in honors government and econ. None of us knew anything. We were just figuring it out as we
we was all like, I don't know what this is, but it's a lie.
We used to shut the door. And so this is what the book said we're supposed to do.
You would shut the door. You'd be like, all right, y'all want to really talk about
it?
The presidents? Let's get it.
I wish to God I could take an ounce of credit for who you all are, but the honest honest to God truth was, you all already came to me with these packages. You were already an activist. You were already an artist. You were already in your truth when you came to me. I was just like, Lord have mercy. What is
I know
this?
Poor you was like, I'm gonna just teach these babies, and the babies was like, well, we're gonna teach you back.
And I was like, okay, hold on, let me get my notebook.
No, but it was such a. I think that there is credit to be taken though, Wendy. If I could just, everybody's saying on the internet right now, if I could just give you your flowers, that there's a lot of teachers who don't even attempt to come into the learning space with that sort of intentionality, especially before it was in vogue. Right now, it's like there's all like, I think that it's more popularized on the high school level in the South, even to be more of a co-pilot in the classroom and really humanize and validate and affirm different learning styles and different like leadership guide styles in the classroom. But we were shut down a lot, even even in this environment. And we would come to your classroom and just be like, trying stuff on, and you were like, oh yeah, I like that. Let's see where this goes. You do you, and let's see what happens. And try and fail, fall on your butt, get up. We're gonna try something else. I just think that's really. It was rewarding in the classroom to do that, so then we could go out in the world and do that.
And to now see you all doing for real what you played with when you were in high school, like you were. It was. I mean, not that PA or any of that was for play and writing poetry and stuff, but you were doing it for a grade or it was for pleasure. But it was for but
we had training wheels,
right? Yeah. And that's what that just brings me great joy. So I am in heaven right now, ladies and gentlemen, to be around people who knew who they were when I was still trying to find myself.
That's a blessing.
Come on, that'll preach right there.
Wow.
Okay, so tell us, how are you doing? How are things going?
Yeah, doing good. I'm, for those of you who don't know, who haven't met me, hi. I'm working on a book, as Emil and Wendy know, and just kind of been working on that. Have been doing a lot of writing. Been doing an essay series with this literary platform that has been really feeding me. We're just like talking about the kind of the meeting between language and creative writing and social justice and specifically anti-racism, which are like kind of like the two sides of my brain, as y'all know. So it's just, I'm feeling more and more like I'm carving out my spot. Like I'm figuring out what we're doing. There he is. Figuring out like what's really going on and sort of like, settling into like, oh, this is going to be my life's work, which is really cool. It's intimidating, but it's cool.
I mean, but that's, and for you to say intimidating is so funny because like, any person that can stand up on the C of the CNN Center,
child,
with a megaphone and talk to thousands and thousands of people.
It's about 6,000 people out there.
Yes, to be intimidated, and then go in front of Eric Holder.
Oh man!
And give the man what for? In Ebenezer Baptist Church, I was like, "That's our baby." She said it, and she meant it. Oh,
poor Reverend Warnock was like, "Well,"
she said it.
But eventually they had to come back, but they were wrong in the time. I mean, but that was that shift. We were talking earlier about that multi-generational conversation, right?
Yep.
John Lewis was the one that got it right before he passed, right? So you engage these younger people and you take them as one thing because you're not speaking the same language. I was just about to say a few minutes ago when you were talking, I was about to say, oh my God, the language that is being used right now, but you all weren't speaking the same language. And instead of trying to get an interpreter and get, what's the name of the program that will teach you how to speak different languages?
Duolingo.
That's fine. They needed to get that. Instead of doing that, they tried to do you like elitists do and say, this is America. You need to speak English. They expected you to speak their language. No, sir. And no, ma'am. Yeah. This is the language we speak, and you're going to have to figure it out. And you did, and they did. Some did, and some didn't. But here we are. Okay.
So we're going to get into the topic after let's get into the topic. Wendy, they
can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, talk to Instagram as I introduce the topic.
Okay, go ahead.
So, fam, listen, the topic today that I really want to talk about is celebrity activism. And when I say celebrity activism, what I'm specifically talking about are activists, right? So, just a traditional activist, someone who is an organizer, someone who is leading some form of a movement. And in that, they gain some status of fame in which we see them in the same limelight, or we see them in the same way that we look at athletes or film stars or TV stars, right? So they're just very public. However, the downside of it is that they're not doing the actual work that we thought they were going to be doing, or that they claim they have been doing for all these years. I'm just going to call out Al Sharpton. That's who I'm talking about. Like, that's just like, if you want to know who I'm talking about in like an essence, I'm talking about like an Al Sharpton individual. This may be a conversation where we name names. This may not be a conversation where we name names.
Oh, y'all know I love naming names.
Okay, you can do whatever you want.
This is about to be on and popping.
But I want to have this conversation because I believe right now in the time that we are in, and this is really overdue, that so many of us naturally just call ourselves activists. And I question how much we are truly activists and we are just followers in a movement. And there are actually very few activists that are doing the work right now. And how do we get to that language? How do we get back to that language where we're giving the titles to those who are doing the work and that aren't seeking fame? And so that's a really broad and like big thing, I know, but I just want to like dive into that if that's okay with y'all.
So then my question to you would be, then let's define activism then. So if you're saying those people that are just, okay, do you have a definition?
Yeah, so I'm going to define an activist as an organizer that may be pursuing something that is social, political, communal. What else you want to drive? What else you want to drop in there? You know?
I'm a push back a little bit, Nate. I'm gonna say that I think that an activist is someone who supports a political cause with action.
Okay.
And I think that is a very broad term.
It is.
I think that an organizer is completely different. I think that an organizer is someone who commits themselves to a political ideology with the total of their work. And they are a leader in committing to that political ideology. So whereas an activist might be someone who speaks on a topic or goes to a march or, has a social justice lens on their work, however their work might be. An organizer is someone who is actively involved in political movement and building political movement and strengthening political frameworks in their community. So that's why you see a lot of organizers who are on the ground, as they say, who are in grassroots organizations who don't call themselves activists, because the term activist, like you said, people kind of add that to the bio and don't really have an embodied practice of being engaged in a political movement.
Right. Yeah. Because I think I kind of agree with that. Like, the activism piece is a person that is constantly on the forefront of trying to make some kind of political moves, not just statements, not just when the cameras are there, but behind the scenes, or trying to get things done. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so now we got a definition.
We're
talking about activists and we're talking about organizers. So there's two. We now have two people that we are, two individual titles that we can talk about. If we talk about the activists for a second, in terms of which in this broad definition that we have, if we're speaking about activism right now, we're also speaking about the broad, the general public of those who are just considering that title on their resume, and what they are doing is participating, as you said, supporting a social political event, in trying to make something better. The question in that is, so many people are doing that in many ways now. They can go online and do it. They can be on FaceTime. They can do it on Instagram. There's Clubhouse. I mean, politicians were calling all day long.
It's yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just they pop up at your door and you don't even know how they figured out your address. But
right.
that is just the work that so many are doing. In that, I question, as you begin to get notarized and seen, that there is a bit of fame that comes with that.
Yeah.
And there are those who have taken that bit of fame, and when they've taken that fame, they have run in a different direction that actually does not support the mission in which they got started in. Mm-hmm. And my question is, how do we recognize who those people are and in the work when we want to actually be supportive of the system?
Mm-hmm. Not the system, the movement.
The movement, not the system. Sorry. F the system.
Wendy, what were you going to say?
I'm going to let you answer that because I would have asked a question behind that, but I want you to be able to answer that. So
is it okay, Emil, if I rewind to answer to get to that question for a second?
Yes, please do.
All the way, because I just
no, you didn't. It was great. So this is the thing, the umbrella over the smaller umbrella of this conversation. But when we talk about celebrity and visibility and notoriety and all that stuff, what we're talking about is power or access to power, mm-hmm. Or proximity to power, which means maybe you're not, changing, laws, but you have connections and more money and all this other stuff that is really attractive. And celebrity culture is about power and access.
Right.
And so a lot of people, I think, get into the work, as I call it, as a lot of us call it a lot of organizers say the work, get into organizing, get into being a part of larger racial justice, anti-racist, social justice movements. And I'm using those terms, not because that's what I believe and what I would really call them, but I know that's a lot of like what most people would say, social justice and racial justice. Mm-hmm. They get into it because they want to make a change. Mm-hmm. And as you're growing in your, in the work that you're doing, the hope is that you also are growing in your political analysis. And I think sometimes people are growing in visibility and notoriety, but their political analysis is still underdeveloped. So mm-hmm. then you have this big platform, you got 100K followers, you have access to money, you have this proximity to power, but you don't have the political analysis or the political rooting and accountability to really make those fundamental shifts that you set out to do. And
can we call it yes. intellectual capacity? So they don't have the intellectual capacity, the political
yes.
capacity to speak to the issue that they now have a platform for. Is that what right. you're saying?
I would say yes. I would say they don't have the political capacity. Thank you, Wendy. The political capacity to match the level of access and visibility. And I'll use myself as an example. When I started organizing, y'all were both there.
Yes.
I put my number out on the internet. That tweet ended up going viral. And so immediately I had a level of visibility that my political analysis did not match. And I can say that now. I was real, we're going to do this. Then I did not have a political analysis to properly lead in the way that I was being tapped on to lead. Right. And what I had to do was really kill my ego and say, do I want to be on? Do I want to be famous? Do I want to be booked? Do I want to be visible? Or do I want to be a part of a movement that's going to help get folks free? And those two things don't live in the same place. They can't live in the same place because celebrity culture, fame as an idea, is about upholding the culture that is normal right now and climbing to the top of that culture
and gaining on what's hot right this moment.
Exactly. So
right,
that's why you have
you
celebrity activists. Oh,
right.
Go ahead.
You did the work. You went and did the work. So one thing I do want you to speak to really quickly, because I want to make sure, because everybody doesn't know who. Like, listen, people, let me tell you something. What we don't do, we don't bring people on the podcast that are not credentialed to be here on a topic. So I don't think everybody, because everybody's not an activist, I don't think you really even know whose presence that you're in. So just speak for a few minutes. So tell them, just give us, like, can you give us a little bit of a timeline? How did you get to this point that you are now an activist? Just so that people understand, an organizer.
And I mean, I'm on it. Yeah, I'll answer that question and I'll come back to that term. But so I started organizing in 2014.
Yeah, I was going to say Michael Brown, right?
Woo, yeah, Michael Brown, August 2014, when Michael Brown was killed. I was young in Georgia, which is where we all are from. We had just, when Michael Brown was killed, we had just the year before dealt with the deaths, nationally of Trayvon Martin. But then in Georgia, there was, oh my God, what's
Johnson?
Yeah, yes, Kendrick Johnson, and also the man who was on death row for the crime that he didn't commit, and his name is slipping my mind right now, and that's making me feel away. But so that was kind of I had gone to a protest here and there. I had considered myself being a poet and activist at that point, for going to the marches and for kind of going to a couple meetings. But when Michael Brown was killed, I really felt pulled to be more involved in a really all the way. So we started an organization in Atlanta called It's Bigger Than You, and briefly, It's Bigger Than You had chapters in a couple different states, usually on student campuses. We did a lot of student organizing at the time. And at the time, I think if you would ask me then, I would have called myself a racial justice organizer, an organizer for racial justice. Yeah. And what started out as like a tweet kind of blew into a network of a couple thousand, maybe, I think, by the time It's Bigger Than You closed our doors, we had about 8,000 people in our network. And, I'd kind of been all over the country and had been kidnapped by the police and had all of these experiences. But because we had been so involved in chasing behind the deaths of Black people, honestly, I realized that my political analysis had nowhere to go beyond being mad that Black people were dying and wanting to do something about that. And so I took a step back because, one, I came out and people in my organization were not happy about that. And so that was, difficult for me. And two, I didn't want to be ambulance chasing for forever. And so then I started, just kind of like listening more, reading more. I went back to school, which you don't have to do. I would have probably, if I asked my future self for advice, I would have told myself, you don't have to go back to school, but that's what I did. And started really really getting to the meat of what it means to be again, anti-capitalist, so against capitalism and against white supremacy, and also against the idea of policing and prisons, which is considered abolition. And so now I think I would call myself a anti-racist cultural organizer. So in art and in our communities. And I would consider myself an abolitionist, which is a big word that just means I don't think jails and prisons and police are the way that we solve racism and crime and all these other things that white folks get mad about. So that is about as succinct as I can do it. And my work is taking me all over the country and all over the world. And I write about it and I try to live it out day to day, 25/8.
So you really do.
Here's what's crazy about your story.
Hold on a second. So are we on here by ourselves? I don't see anybody in these comments. Are you all there? I need to hear you. I need some feedback, Do you have questions? Where y'all at? I know my shoulders look good, but that's the last comment I got. I mean, unless my computer is frozen. Okay, go ahead, Nate.
What I wanted to say
Instagram, that means YouTube.
As much as what I wanted to say was I honor so much of Elle's history and all she's done, because Elle's launching point became a launching point for so many of us.
Yes,
I had a sister organization to Elle's, which allowed me to have my first organization, which then cycled down and had its own chapters while we were in institutions. And what's so crazy, this is really where we're gonna go, like, it's full circle on why I want to have this conversation, and then maybe we'll go somewhere else with it, but it's fine, we're gonna go here. The crazy part about it is, for me, and I'm only gonna speak for myself, in 2014, when Elle took that jump, I felt so drawn to do it because
people were talking to
that was my sister. She still is my sister, and I felt like there was no way that I can allow her. I can see her do what she's doing, and I'm just going to sit in Indiana and not do anything at all.
Exactly.
And so I felt my fire to do what I wanted to do and be a part of it, and so I followed suit.
And so while we'll say, and those of us that taught you were having these conversations behind closed doors, our students are putting their bodies on the line, and we're the ones that told them to be civically active, and we're doing nothing. We've got to do something, right? Keep going, Nate.
Also, I just want to let everybody know that's watching, I love y'all. I know Wendy be doing that to y'all, and y'all all had to stop what y'all were doing. I know y'all weren't doing it, but I'm just gonna keep going. And I appreciate y'all because Wendy be coming at y'all because she like to see her comments, and I haven't clicked one comment today because I want to. But here's what I want to say. So in that, I had my 4 years where I really did what I could. I was organizing a lot on the campus and only on the campus, right? And so listening to Elle, I would say I was a social, actually, I would just say I'm a racial cultural organizer in the university because that was what I was pursuing, the racial culture of that university and exploring it. See how you listen and then you learn? That's why I want to do this. Build on language, build on your language, right? So that's what I was. Here's where it changed for me though.
Okay.
Senior year, November 2016 or 15, I'm preparing to graduate. I'm in my senior year. I get a call from my father and he says, I got a theater. And I said, what you do? He said, I got a theater. I came home that Thanksgiving and he in fact had gotten theater in the square. And I went back to school and I said, I got to leave. I got a theater. It's real. I got to make this thing happen. And they sent me. Before they sent me, there was a very, very short period of time and I doubted going. And the reason I doubted was because at that time, especially when you're in a university, they talk so much about your image and how people will pursue you and find you and see you before you walk in the door. At that time, if you ever Googled my name, you would find article upon article upon article upon article of me organizing at the university, organizing for Black Lives Matter, organizing for the LGBT plus community, organizing for Michael Brown. It was it was just everything it was doing. I was doing, whatever Elle did, I did at the university. That's true. It was just a cycle. And then also your algorithm was partnered together. So because Elle would do something and then I followed suit, we were all in some way just stringed together, right? Yeah. To the point that the third one that I'm close to, because I'm close to Elle and Tommy,
Right.
That when Tommy would do stuff, they would end up at my parents' house. Every time Tommy did something, someone showed up at my parents' house looking for me and Tommy. And so it's just what it did was I got faced with, am I about to be an organizer? Or am I going to have a career doing the thing that I want to do the most? And so I ended up in a very split-hair decision where I felt like I had to let go of a chapter of life that I really enjoyed doing, and I felt like I was getting very good at, and I could be not that I could be the leader of it, but that I could be an influence to help it move. But I knew that I needed to have this career, and I knew that that was the one thing that I always wanted to do, no matter the community in which I'm around. And for me, that had always been to the idea that I didn't want to become famous as an artist and be hooked to the activism that I stopped doing at one point. And that was very detrimental to me. I didn't want to become famous, and then they go like, but why did you stop doing the thing you did? And so I changed my name. So that you no longer.
I never knew that.
Wow. That is so.
I never knew that.
I didn't either.
And so Emil was birthed so that at that time I didn't have to answer the question on why I felt like I gave up on my community. Because I had to build something for myself and for my family that we had invested so deeply into. And so it is a very, when I for me, it's very personal when I talk about the celebrity thing to it, because artists, right, who use that term so loosely that we are activists, we rise, we do have the opportunity to rise. And when we do, how are we actually doing the work that we so claim that we were doing for all this time? And so often we aren't. That's just the truth.
And I think that something about that, I mean, there's so much there, Emil, and I really appreciate you being transparent and vulnerable in talking about that, the difficulty there. And I think some of that is so sad for me, because at the time, I feel like, again, we talk a lot about how we were doing this and always right next to each other, but like, because everything was so crazy at the time, like we weren't talking a lot. But I was also struggling with those same things. I mean, we went to a theater. We went to a performing arts high school. I consider myself an artist for so long who was involved in social justice work, a speaker and a writer who was involved in social justice work. And then I remember the time when I thought that I had to make the choice, and I decided to make the choice to be an organizer. And I thought that there had to be a death of the artist because, celebrity and celebrity culture isn't something that I was going to, prioritize in my life anymore, or making a name for myself isn't something I wasn't going to.
Or would you be accepted because you were an organizer?
Right. Would I be accepted in creative spaces because because when my reputation preceded me about my orientation to material and my own biases, since I am heavily involved in these spaces, would I be seen as the same way that we see these other exploitative organizers who are coming in to get their followers, to get them checks, to get the money, and then dip, if I was an artist, creative, also involved in these spaces, who, wrote for television, but also did, intense and I thought that I had to kill one so that the other could live. And I think I'm just getting to a point, and that's, I think, what the beautiful thing about this book is, that I'm writing, that is about to be out in the world, is that I really pushed myself really hard to not kill either parts of myself so that I could live a fully embodied life. And I think that I'm still realizing like how healing that is. But I think I want that for everyone, because I think that if the ultimate goal is Black liberation, which it is for me, if the ultimate goal is Black liberation, then that means, like we started the show talking about, Blackness is expansive. There's so many ways that we show up. And so there has to be a way then for us to be creative, for us to be chefs and chess players and cello players and nail artists and whoever the hell else, sorry for my French, whoever else, Yeah, I'm like, I'm doing good so far, but
only millennials curse on this podcast.
Yeah.
Great. So whoever else we are, and have a deep and abiding love and commitment to a political belief system that guides whatever we're doing. There has to be a way to do both of those things, because otherwise we all got to be in the streets stressed out and running from police, or we all got to be denying our other talents and gifts and joys and desires because white people decided to hate us. That don't make no sense. That's not freedom.
No, it's not. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us late, we are here with none other than the Aurielle Marie, activist, organizer, poet, author.
Nope.
Not at all. Want to make sure that you know who we're talking to. We are talking to the organizer of the protest in Atlanta at the CNN Center in 2014. If you were on 75 and you couldn't get home, that was her. That's what happened. It happened then.
My bad.
So it was. Not to mention, she's one of my angels. That's why somebody Jen referred to my earrings. I had to go pull my angel earrings out because one of my girls was on the show. So anyway, we're talking right now about celebrity activism and those people that do it for the gram. And so we're talking to two activists right now, our millennials that have done it when it was not popular and no one knew their names.
She's an organizer. I'm an activist.
Okay, there we go. And they're constantly educating me. I will add to the conversation that it's the kind of funny thing that the both of you are saying, that you felt like you had to kill one part of yourself to be who you knew you needed to be, to either be the only of one of two Black-owned theaters in the state of Georgia.
Come on, somebody.
Can the man please get the credit that is
in a old white neighborhood,
and in a completely white area, and then to be one of the leading. If you don't know who Aurielle Marie is, that's okay, because guess what? The FBI does, Bernice King does, and so does you ain't gotta know.
FBI, come on.
They know. I used to be Finney, if he's on here or not. The funny part, Finney and I would be on the phone like, do you think our names is in a database somewhere? I bet you our names are somewhere in the FBI database because of all of the children that we now know. Let's think about all three of y'all. I was like, yeah, somebody knows who we are. But the part that's
they're like, Pebblebrook High School, the radicalization center.
Right. The thing that used to be hilarious to me when they would call you all actors, you know how they try to
oh yeah, I remember that.
Diminish and minimize your true activism and say you were paid actors. And I was like, these children are not paid actors. Now they really were actors because they went to an actor, but that was not the kind of actor that they were. But it was your activism and your organization that pushed me. I cannot sit by. And I remember having that conversation with Ms. Perkins. I remember having that conversation with Finney and some others. I can't sit here any longer. I can't I'm not going to mentor and raise my children up, and then they listen to what I tell them and go out and do the work. And I'm going to sit here and say, well, I'm just going to be the spiritual guide behind the scenes because I'm afraid. No. So the flip side of it was that I used my title as a reverend to do the work, right? Because of where I work, we were all afraid because of our positions that we could have backlash, just like you talked about. Do you make a decision? Am I going to be an activist or am I going to work for this organization that you're supposed to be non-political? But see, then I can use my title. I'm a liberation theologist, and I'm going to use this word to back up everything she has to say. And so that was really that was a funny duality, right? Because people are always asking, well, where is the church in the work? For real.
Right.
So so here I go.
Here I go.
So, you got to get out there and you have to do the work. And there are those out there, and I will say, in all sectors and even in the church, that are there only when there's cameras. Is there going to be a press conference? Is there going to be some press? And then they show up. They're not there in the grassroots. I can name, I know a preacher right now that's always on the grass, like when when the shooting happened. I can't think of the name of the young man that got killed at the Wendy's off University Avenue.
Rashard Brooks.
Rashard, every day. Every day he was there. His name is Keith Hammond. You met him. Remember when we came? We met one time at Zoe's, the pizza place.
Yeah.
I mean, every day he was there trying to talk to the young men that were blocking that were putting up the barricades and trying to keep the police from. That's the work, right? Being there every day, no cameras. No press, no interviews, no anything. Trying to be there and trying to affect change in your community. And it was about time that Generation X took some lead from millennials on this, because let's be real, we had really gotten rested on our laurels about doing things the way that the King way, and the King way does work, but these ain't King times.
Yeah, and I think that there's a misconception too, and maybe from Gen X, but also I think even among millennials who are, kind of bought into in Atlanta specifically, kind of bought into what we call them, the LLC blacks, business owners, and got your loft in Castleberry or your apartment in Brookhaven, and there's this idea that there's an idea for a lot of people, Black people, that this work is opt in or opt out.
Right.
And what was so
not double Dutch people.
Right. I think that, and this is a check for whoever it needs to be a check for, but I think that there's a difference between even being an activist and being like a bystander who sometimes is a participant, who has visibility and will go and take a picture at the protests and then go home where they are not paying their workers a living wage, not, you know what I'm saying? Like doing the performance of protest, but not embodying that same resistance in the rest of their life. And that's why I'm saying I think there is a way to do all of, more than one thing at once. I think there is a way to be a theater director and be someone who is proximate to justice. There's a way to be a reverend and be proximate to justice. There has to be, because it's not like everybody's about to go quit their jobs and then just like work for Black Lives Matter or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to figure out how to incorporate liberatory movement and momentum in every part of our lives. There's a necessity for the church to have anti-racist trainings in the basement, in the fellowship hall. There's a necessity for there to be critical and necessary and urgent plays and storytelling in the theater. There's a necessity for business owners. I mean, I just worked with last summer was working with the bail funds that were working out of Atlanta, helping to keep people out these cages for standing up for what they believe in. And there was so much labor that went on the back end to get some of the Atlanta celebrities that we know and love to just send a check over to the bail fund. Mm-hmm. And then when they did, they wanted to come down to the jail and take pictures. And I was like, listen. I don't want you to send this check and come get these people out of jail because you think it'll build your brand.
Wow.
As someone who's down. I want you to bail these folks out because we both know that prisons are violent and people should not be brutalized by police in the streets and then thrown into a jail cell that they can't get out of because they can't afford to bail out these trumped up charges from these protests, not because you think it's going to make a good Instagram picture. And so I think that the thing that's so necessary is a commitment to reorienting whatever I'm doing, whoever I am. How can I reorient myself? What book do I need to read? and just that be my one book for the year? What organization do I need to go to like one meeting a quarter? And how do I reorient myself in my own little space to justice? Because it's not that hard and it's necessary. Because if we don't do it, then all that means is the kids that you give birth to or the kids you already got to do it when they hit 25.
Right.
And I've had these talks with my mother where I'm like, Mama, I'm doing this work because Generation X thought that we didn't have to do it.
Yep.
Generation X was like, we're good. We're gonna get these businesses, we're gonna buy these homes, and we're gonna chill. And white supremacy did not stop because Black people bought houses or own businesses.
And they plot and they plan and they work 10-year plans and they will work that plan until it comes to fruition. We're constantly getting caught off guard because we are people that just want to be left alone. No. When you have people that are faced with power being taken from them, they're going to keep that power at all costs. And you are expendable in that cost.
A perfect example is how I was in the post that you were just talking about that I just put up on Instagram, where I'm watching this case with Derek Chauvin and all of these cops coming out and saying, oh, this is so bad. He shouldn't have done this, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, hold on. Hold on. And I want to break this down really quickly and succinctly. Derek Chauvin was employed by Minneapolis Police Department for years. He had a long record of brutality. He had officers who was ready to kill these folks in these streets last summer in his name. And now, because right around the time we're talking about abolition, we talk about defunding the police, we're talking about demilitarizing the police. Right around that time is when we're having this sort of weird, it feels almost like a theater production where everyone's like, Derek was terrible. Derek was, how could he have done? And I'm like, oh, okay. So now it's terrible. And specific to just this one person. And isn't that the easiest way to rip the rug from under all of the momentum we've had in the last year? People having conversations they've never had. My grandmother and I are talking about what defunding the police means. And like now, that kind of goes back to what you were just saying, Wendy, about like how power protects itself and power hoards power. And so now I think that there are a lot of ways that even the way that this trial is going, where people who might not understand all the different parts of it are like, oh, this is justice. He's about to get the book thrown at him. He's going to go to jail forever. And they don't realize that the meter is being pushed up against this case as now this is the metric by which we assess what actual police brutality is. And if it's not a knee on the neck for 9 minutes,
then what is? The worst unfortunate part about all of that is how many different times have you said that speech? Because for each of our brothers that we have lost, for each of our sisters, for each of our Black kings, queens that we've lost, we said that very thing. Is this going to be the case in which we can actually start to use this merit as this is police brutality?
And the answer will always be no.
No. Yeah.
Because the answer will always be no, because police officers, policing is, because it is a system, a part of the state, will never admit that it is invalid, because that invalidates all of it. As much as we talk about all of these systems being intertwined and, intersectional and connected, they know that too. So they know that if we critique Derek, we can't critique Derek without critiquing the police department. Right. We can't critique that one police department without critiquing all police departments.
Right.
And we can't critique all police departments without critiquing the entirety of the system. And so then all of these little concessions get made so that it's just about Derek Chauvin and his knee and George Floyd's neck. And so then you have people who, like we talked about earlier, their political analysis does not match the platform that they've been given. And I'm talking about the Sean Kings. I'm talking about the Killer Mikes, who are yes men for very troubling rhetoric, very troubling language, because I just think that it's leading us to a point where we won't be able to recognize who's trying to advance our people toward true liberation, and who's trying to make sure that they and some other Black people are as comfortable as possible in the circumstances that we have now.
Right.
Which is not good enough for me, and it's not good enough for any true organizer. The circumstances that we have right now are not good enough for any of us, and shouldn't be good enough for any of us.
So you have let me look. So you had
you want some comments, Wendy?
Yeah, I was just gonna go back. Hill Story said,
I know I'm long-winded.
No, you're fine. No, about to start referring to herself as a liberation educator, because I said a liberation theologist. She said she's gonna call herself a liberation educator. You are definitely that we hold multiple truths. Georgia did not sneak up on us. I want to know why the Democratic House and Senate did not let us know that those bills were even. Why did we not hear about those bills until the night they were on the vote, like they were up for vote? That was unacceptable.
But we know why.
And then shaven is a sacrificial lamb. That's what Aurielle is speaking to. I agree with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Going back to why people didn't hear. I mean, even the legislators that we know, Park Cannon, people that are really. I think there are a lot of politicians that talk, and then there's a lot of politicians. There are very few who are walking it. I think that Park Cannon is one of those people who had no idea that these bills were coming. Park Cannon got arrested at the
signing.
At the signing of the bill.
Erica was with her.
And I think now this is the thing that's going, Wendy, I know who in your network, and they're probably gonna look at this while.
You just gotta say it. This
is the specific reason why I will never say that voting is enough and that voting is someone's only civic duty.
Right, it's not.
Because whether or not you want to vote, I never judge people. When especially young folks come to me and say that they don't vote, I am not someone who's going to beat them down, and I'm going to be very clear about why. There are so many ways that the system is terrorizing our communities that a vote cannot touch. A vote cannot touch so much of what's happening in the smallest parts of our lived experience. And then even the places where our vote can touch, there are, like I said, power hoards itself. There are people who will insulate and protect themselves in a way that is not legal, right? It's not legal to blindside your constituents with a bill that you were never going to allow them to respond to, right? It's not legal on paper. It's not even an option for me to vote for or against that because you've taken that option from me.
Right.
And that is when you respond to the state with the power of the people. That is when you deepen your relationship with organizations and movements in your neighborhood, in your location where you respond.
Hey, Zoe. Sorry, honey.
There she go.
Yes.
That's my fiance, y'all.
Yes.
That response is the response that I think there is no state retort for. When we hit the streets last summer, we overwhelmed Atlanta Police Department's whole entire circuit. Mm-hmm. We overwhelmed it. There was protests beyond police, like we were where we wanted. And that could have turned itself into more intimate organizing if that hadn't been drowned out by Killer Mike crying about his police cop daddy on Channel 5. But I digress. There is a responsibility for us outside of the ballot box, and that responsibility is the one that I think people are most hesitant to respond to, but it is the most impactful that I've seen in my work for changing our
and is that so when you say that are you speaking of organizing and collective protests, or are you speaking of more than just that? You mean like groundwork protests?
Thank you for saying that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I always say organizing, and then people are like, so protesting. There, of course, protesting. The term for protesting is direct action, right? Okay. So direct action is one strategic part of community organizing. The other part of it is political education, right? Learning about political movements in the past, learning about the political reality right now. What is capitalism? What is carceral terrorism? What does that mean? Learning about those things. And then another part of it is strategizing for what comes after we deconstruct these systems. So if I don't want police, if I'm saying to you, I think policing is amoral, unnecessary, and obsolete, the next question is, well, what the hell do you do if you don't have police? And a part of community organizing is creating the foundation, the groundwork for the thing that exists after we get free. So mutual aid.
After we get what, boo?
After we get free.
Free.
So mutual aid.
What you just said, letting you know we are still not free. Okay, keep going.
No, and I think mutual aid, community resources. There's in Atlanta, I think a lot of people don't know about the street groomers, which is a community I won't say community policing, but a community safety team that does patrolling in the West, on the Southwest side. And there's all these alternatives that people have on the Southwest side to calling the police, right? We are making the police obsolete by creating the thing that comes after we know that ends. And this is like, it sounds like some futuristic novel, but really what it means is just neighborhoods are talking to one another about what they need, what they're not getting, and how to make it happen. And then plugging in with organizations that are based in those neighborhoods and saying, here's how y'all can show up for us. And then the organizations are responding. So that's why community gardens are feeding folks when they lost their jobs last year. Mutual aid is paying folks bills. There's the Mama Fund in Atlanta who is paying folks bills, paying folks groceries when they can't get any unemployment or anything from the state because of COVID and for being furloughed and all of that stuff. These things are happening right now. And all of us can say, oh, how can I plug into that? So that I can be a part of creating and building what comes after we get free.
So in other words, when they listen to the parable that says, love thy neighbor as you love yourself, that there are organizations that are part of that organization, that religion, that are doing the work. And if we would do the actual work instead of just going to churches and looking churchy, we could actually remove these overseers out of our neighborhoods and take care of ourselves, which we were called to do in the first place.
And then it would be easier to spot. Message from Wendy, y'all. But then it'd be easier to spot when there's predatory people who are just here for clout, here for the check, here to take advantage, right? Like black women specifically, black non-men, black femmes who are organizers, who are plugged into these cities, knew who Shaun King was long before anybody else did. Clocked it. I mean, y'all know I've had personal experiences where I was like, something's fishy right there. I don't trust that. And then the money started getting funny. And everybody who knew me was like, "Elle, you said this in 2017. Sure did.
Yes, you did.
Because when you consider yourself politically accountable to a community, that means I am my siblings' keeper for all of y'all. That means when somebody is moving funny, I clock it. And I have the political analysis because I'm growing my political intellect, as Wendy offered us earlier. I know what sounds good and what's actually good, and the difference between those two things. And I'm plugged in. A plus B equals C, y'all. Come on.
Yes, it is. So listen, we are like this conversation. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Wait,
because
before we end it, I actually think L will be a great. We haven't done this in like a couple of episodes, but I think you will give us a great answer. And so,
well, let's let L answer this comment question. From Kiji. Can y'all hear me now? Now they're about to close.
Do you think we can be free when there are pockets of generations that don't even want to be in community with its own people?
That's a good question. Harriet Tubman left some people on the plantation. Harriet Tubman left some people. And there were some people who Harriet Tubman had a pistol with on the way up north. And I think that it is okay that I ground myself in my work, that I check and hold accountable the people who I consider myself in community with. And if someone else who I thought was in community with me is not ready to kill their ego, to be held accountable when they misstep, held accountable with love, of course, to be called in, to change their orientation like we were talking about, then I had to give myself permission to keep moving forward and hope that somebody else coming behind me can catch them on the way in. I just had a friend who, I would have taken a bullet for this man. And a couple times almost did. And he is someone who I love dearly, but I realized we're not moving in alignment. You're still a part of some behaviors that are detrimental to the liberation of Black women. And you're not ready to let that go. So I gotta let you go. And I hope that somebody else, one of your brother's keepers, can bring you and we catch up.
We're gonna get to that part, right?
Listen.
And
Kiji,
hold on, let me go ahead.
Kiji, I'm gonna stop bringing my people on here because every time I bring someone on here, you just quick to go into Kiji's gonna hit you up. She's a very
hit me up, Kiji. I love to talk.
And so, and that speaks to the point that, sometimes you have to know what your you have to know what your role is in a thing and in a person's life period. My job is just to water. Your job might be to plant. Someone else's job might be to cultivate the land. Somebody else might be there just to plow the field. The bottom line is that my job is not, like Harriet said, is not to bring you all the way through. Here is an opportunity to freedom. Either you take it or you don't. Now, once you get on this road with me and you act like you're wavering in your faith or in your ideas, then I'm not going to let you take us down. But you have to know to get to the question, can we be free? Freedom also is a state of mind. Elle might be there before some of us. Aurielle and Emil were definitely there before I was, right? I'm still talking about, well, us got this job over here. I don't know what us gonna do, right? So I had to break free from that. Well, us gonna be free or, we'll figure it out. And I'm still employed and I'm okay. So, the information is there, it's given, it's freely given. It's whether or not we receive it or not. Your job is to, like you're doing right now, our job is to expose you to things. Your job is to glean from that. And then what do you do with it for the next steps?
And be courageous enough to listen beyond the edge of your comfort.
Yes.
Be courageous enough to move beyond the edge of your comfort. That's the thing too, that freedom is uncomfortable. That's really what it is. There is no comfort in getting free. And that's because freedom, it's over there, the destination, all the comfort is over there. Mm-hmm. I didn't make the rules. I didn't build white supremacy. So I wish it was a fun ride. It's not always going to be, but it's crucial.
He's never said it was going to be easy. We would have to fight. So the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. So you will fight for your freedom.
You know, Wendy's the only person who'll quote a Bible verse in a conversation with me, and I don't get irritated because I'm like, actually, that was relevant. That was really relevant.
Because she know her Bible.
She know it, and she knows context too. She be like, here it is, and I'm like, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. I don't want to take too much of her time.
I know we 15 minutes over. I'm so long-winded, y'all. Woo!
It's okay. I appreciate it.
Conversation.
And, I love these conversations because these be the episodes that I just sit back and listen to. Like I just throw things in the air and I just get educated. So I thank you, Elle and Wendy, for having the conversation today, and everyone for jumping into it. Now, as y'all do know, we do have a traditional ending. We haven't done it for a while because of the topics we've been having, but having Elle on the show, I think it'll be great. So, Elle, this is how we usually end the show. I pose a question, and you got to either or, and you can answer the question.
Okay.
And when you answer the question, it's whatever you want.
Okay.
Here's the question. Is today's dream tomorrow's reality, or is tomorrow's dream today's reality?
You ask a philosopher a question like that.
Do the first one again. Is today's dream? Yep. Is today's dream tomorrow's reality, or is tomorrow's dream today's reality? Now, I really could mess this whole thing up and kick it back to Octavia Butler and Afrofuturism,
but
who says that our time is nonlinear because we're Black people, and so there is no such thing as before and after. There is always now.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm gonna do because you tried to trip me up and I refuse. Now what?
That's why we call her Elle.
Yes, Queen Elle. Here you go.
Well done.
Yeah. Well, that's another episode because I'm not answering the question today.
Oh. All right then.
Not for Black people, it's non-linear. You heard her. There is no past, there is no present. We are just there always.
Same today, yesterday, and tomorrow.
All right, y'all. I want to thank Elle for being here one more time. It was so fantastic to see you.
Yes.
I hope all is well. Again, congratulations on much of the success. Can you tag yourself?
Please tell the people how they can find you.
When's the book coming out? All of it.
Yes. So I'm Aurielle on Instagram and Twitter. Don't find me on Facebook. Oh, I guess it is on y'all's Facebook. So I guess y'all can find me on Facebook. I do that, be advised. All right, just be advised. But Instagram and Twitter are at @Aurielle. I have a book. It's called Gumbo Yaya. It's out from the University of Pittsburgh Press, September 21st. Pre-order, I think, drops next month because I just got the cover back and it looks very good. I'm very excited about the cover. There goes Zoe. I knew it. I was like, I wonder if Zoe gonna come.
Come on, wife.
Zoe and I do this thing where we hop in each other's interviews and stuff, and we just be it up. But yeah, so there's that, and then I'm working on that's a collection of poetry. I like to call it poetry for people who don't like poems. And then Gumbo Yaya, and then I'm working on a essay collection, The Art of Ambulance Chasing, and that comes out maybe next year. So you got to follow me to figure out, when that's coming out. But yeah, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and we just gonna keep on working till the work is done, y'all.
Yes, we so appreciate you being here with us today. If you didn't know, which I know you do, I love you to death. I'm so proud of you, so happy that you are in my space, and thank you for being here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Mentor Mentee podcast. We can't make this stuff up. Please get, some knowledge, some political knowledge, understand some of the things going on around you. Follow someone like Aurielle to educate you and stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone, so that you too can be free.
I have to ask one more question. I know.
Wow.
I did not cause us to be over. I just want
Wendy put on her best radio voice, and
I did. You can't make this stuff up. She said it. You can't make it up. So I'm gonna do it. But Elle, I just want to ask one more question.
I'm just the co-host.
Okay.
How do we get over? And I'm just speaking for the general. But
oh my God.
How do we get over asking hard questions when it comes to getting involved with community?
Oh, really? You gonna wait till the end? We're 20 minutes over, and you
just answer the question. Just answer the question.
Okay.
This is Effect Fitness overtime, right? So this is boot camp. It's overtime. Sorry, guys.
Zoe,
we love you.
And Zoe, keep dropping stuff. So, Elle, answer the question. Me and Zoe just gonna promote you. So go.
Oh God. I think the truth is it's always going to be difficult because difficult conversations always reflect the scary parts of ourselves back to us. I can't talk about capitalism without really being honest about how I'm bougie and like, do I need to be getting, buying all the stuff I buy and all of that stuff. I can't talk about anti-racism without reflecting back to myself my own internalized anti-Blackness and what I've been taught, that I've internalized, that I reflect to people around me. And I don't think that discomfort is a bad thing. I think that discomfort calls us to be accountable and intentional about what we believe in our heads versus what we act out. And so the discomfort thing, I try not to, and you'll see this on my Instagram and Twitter. I will talk about the thing that I'm not sure of yet as a practice to never be too sure that I got all the answers. And I will circle back to conversations that I had publicly a month ago, 2 months ago, and be like, actually, I was loud and wrong about this. And let's talk about what I've learned so far. And in doing that, I hope that I am walking out of practice that I've seen other people that I really admire and love also do. So yeah, be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable so that our kids can be comfortable. Be uncomfortable so that in 2 years we'll be more comfortable and we'll find something else to be uncomfortable about. And keep talking to people who are smarter than you, because that's the only way we learn. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. That's just dumb.
Amen. Hallelujah. You can end the show now. Go ahead, Wendy.
So listen, for all of you people out there that thought I was making it up when I talked about teaching some of the most amazing people in the universe, and my bouginess comes from some of the people that I know. Now there they are, both of them right there. But then again,
Zoe, cut it out.
Come on, she's an award-winning.
We're talking about an award-winning poet.
Kick Zoe out the chat.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another amazing episode. Thank you all for riding with us. Those of you that stayed for overtime, we appreciate you. Please, Aurielle, you really need to go live more. You have a lot to say that people need to hear in the moment. I know you're writing, and your writings are amazing, but the people need to hear it. They need to hear your voice. Needs to be in the atmosphere on a regular basis, because there's a vibration that the atmosphere needs, and it needs to ping from those vocal cords on a regular basis.
I can't wait to hear the audio.
Okay, poet.
Do you? Who's doing your audiobook?
I think I'm doing it.
Yeah, see, there we go.
I haven't done that.
Can we do this after show? We can stick around, y'all, and do an after show.
Oh yeah, okay. There we go.
Are you going? Okay, because I was going. Yeah, let's talk business.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Wendy Torres.
Oh, and I'm Emil Thomas.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.